Hello, this is Mr. Bergman, and this is the Work Together problem for 9.3. Now, if you remember last section in 9.2, we talked about the cash payments journal, and that is used anytime that you write a check now on. And sometimes you have other things that you have to do with that, and that's what we're going to explore today. So it says the cash payments journal and the petty cash report for Keller Lighting are given below. And so I'm going to go through the examples with you. Just keep in mind that the abbreviation for a check is C. Step 1 right here says rule page 5 of the cash payments journal using March 27th of the current year. So we have to go to page 5 right here, and we're going to rule the journal, meaning if we had an actual physical piece of paper, we would draw a line all the way across, and then we would total everything up. Okay, and your totals are already given for you, and then you would put them on the next page here, which would be on directions number 2 right here, where it says begin page 6 of the cash payments journal. So in order to do this, once again, we do put it on this 27th, and you always put the last day that you worked with in the journal. Notice that we have 27th right here. You'd put 27th as well. And then you remember from the Rico Sanchez simulation that you put carried forward down, and then if you remember, you also are going to put down a little check, and that check is going to just let everybody know that no, you're not going to post this amount anywhere. You're going to actually post all of these amounts at the very end of our fiscal period here. So then number 2 is you got to bring it forward, right? So we put down March, and we put down 27th, and we'll put down the words brought forward. Okay, notice that in the post-reference column, once again, we put a little check mark. We just carry down the numbers, so we have 18,486.85. You have the next one right here, which is 458.56. And you have the accounts payable debit right here, which is 16,483.50. And you have your purchases discount, which is 251.34. And obviously, last but not least, you have your cash credit, which is 34,260.45. All right, so you'd want to make sure that all these numbers are correct. Okay, and we're just going through and making sure that they are correct and they're good. All right, so the next transaction that you have is number 3 right here, and it says that Kevin Tomlinson is the custodian of the $200 petty cash account. Now, if you remember, the word custodian, that doesn't just mean somebody who cleans up after other people in an office setting. It also means that they're in charge of the petty cash account. And so what we're doing here is we're going to replenish we're going to put together a petty cash report, and it says on March 31st he had receipts for the following payments. We bought $45.23 worth of office supplies, $66.18 worth of store supplies, and miscellaneous $49.25. So what we did was we actually figured out that we counted up the cash that we had in our petty cash box. It might be a little lock box that we put in a filing cabinet, and we had $40.59. So we need to make sure that when we spent all this money, that we should have 40.59 left, and that's why we need to put together what is called a petty cash report. So here's your petty cash report, and you would put down the date, which is March 31st. You would put down the custodian. His name is Kevin Tomlinson. Okay, and we're going to look at this particular report. The explanation section is referring to this information. The reconciliation part is referring to this information, and then the replenish amount is referring to right down here at the bottom. Okay, so what we have to realize is that the fund total, the very like the amount that we have in our petty cash fund, looking at this, the fund total, okay, is $200. That's our petty cash fund total. So we're going to put down $200 here. Okay, now we've listed our individual amounts here, which we had in our directions, and you're going to simply put that in the order that you saw. So for office supplies, we had $45.23. For store supplies, we had $66.18. And for miscellaneous, we had $49.25. Okay, now The word less right here means that we're going to subtract something. We're going to subtract our total payments. Okay, what are they talking about? What are our payments? Well, these were our payments right here for office supplies, store supplies, and miscellaneous. So we're going to total everything up, and then we're going to subtract the fund total. Okay, so see how the lines are moving across right here? What this means is we're going to take this total, and when we add everything up, it's 160.66. We're also going to put that over here as well. See that arrow? That just tells us we have to transfer that amount over. So this is just going to stick out so that we know that these are our total payments. Now it's time to do the math. The $200, the fund total, minus the 160.66 equals, okay, the recorded amount on hand. So that means this is what we should have on hand. When we count the petty cash drawer, we should have $39.34. However, when we look at our petty cash box, we have $40.59. So we have a little extra money. We have to account for that. So we had, it says less right here, we're going to subtract the actual amount on hand. So we put down how much we counted, we physically counted $40.59. Now, when you subtract these two numbers, you're going to get a negative amount. And the reason why is because this number down at the bottom, okay, the actual amount that we have on hand, is bigger or over the amount that we should have. Okay, so we have to keep that in mind. So when we subtract both of these numbers, instead of putting a negative sign, we're going to put down in parentheses $1.25. So we're actually $1.25 over what we should have. Okay, so we're going to put down $1.25. This just means transfer this amount over. So we're going to put $1.25 in parentheses over. Now, what we have to do is we have to figure out how much do we need to replenish our petty cash fund, meaning what do we have to write a check for so that it goes back to $200 in our petty cash fund? Well, it's very simple. We just take these two numbers and we add them together. Now, this is a positive number. This is a negative number. So, in fact, instead of adding it up, we're actually subtracting because this is a negative number. And we should get $159.41. This is how much we should actually be putting in our petty cash fund. Now, you might be saying, well, wait a minute. How do you figure that out? Like, how can you double check that? Well, you can double check that by the recorded amount right here that you should have on hand. If I took that $200 that I started out with in my petty cash fund minus that $39.34 that I was just talking about, okay, I should get 160.66, right? But I was over $1.25. I had $1.25 more than I should have. So I subtract the $1.25 and it was 159.41. Okay? So now, in this same exact transaction here, if for some reason these two numbers were different, let's say that this right here was $38, okay? Then what would happen is when I subtract these two numbers, I would put down $1.34, which is totally wrong, but for this example, and then I'd put $1.34 over here, okay, and I would have to add these two numbers up together, and then I would get 160, well, it looks like about 162 right there that I'm going to get for that particular example. So that number would change, and remember, that would be the amount that I'm short. I would be short $1.34, meaning I didn't have $1.34. I needed to add $1.34 more into that bank account. Now, step 4 right here says that we have to record the replenishment of the fund on March 31st with check number 356. When we replenish the petty cash fund, we're actually going to record it, and we put down the date that we replenished. So we put it down on the 31st, and we're not putting the word petty cash. Okay, very, very important that you know that we're not putting the word petty cash. Only time that you put the word petty cash right here for a petty cash transaction is if you were actually creating a petty cash account. That's the only time. Remember, we put down what we bought. So supplies from the office, okay, and I'm just taking these amounts down here. Supplies from the office, I'm going to put down. That supplies, that is an asset right here. So it's $43.23. What I also have to realize is that I'm writing check number 536, And when I go ahead and I write the next amount right here, which is supplies for store for $66.18, I'll put that down. Okay. I'll put down miscellaneous, so I have a miscellaneous expense. Okay, which that right there would be $49.25. And when I add all this stuff up right here, I get $1.60. But we knew that we were actually $1.25 over. Okay, so we have to make this 160.66 less. Okay, we actually have to make it $1.25 less. So because that is over, we have a new account called cash, short, and over. And if it's short, it goes right here. That means if we have to add money to this to make sure that it equals how much we need to replenish our petty cash, it goes here. The over part, see this is on the far right hand side, that represents the credit part, and we'll just put down $1.25. Now we don't need to put a negative number right here because by crediting, remember opposite subtract, it'll just subtract it by $1.25. So when we add all of these up right here, we should get 160.66. Okay? When we subtract that by $1.25, because opposites subtract, we should get 159.41, and that's how much we owe for our petty cash account, 159.41. So that is how you replenish the petty cash. All right, the last part is we got to total, prove, and rule the cash payments journal. When we do that, we put down the 31st and we put the word totals down because this is the end of the fiscal period, so we're totaling it. We don't have to put brought forward or carried forward or anything like that. At the very end of the fiscal period, we put totals. And we total everything up, so we get 18,000, 647.51, 459.81, 16,483.50, 251.34, 34,419.86. And we need to make sure that our debits equal our credits, and because we have a debit here, a credit here, a debit here, credit here, credit here, we need to make sure somewhere that they equal. So if you scroll down to the bottom of your page, you're going to just go ahead and plug in all of your numbers in the appropriate columns here. And we want to make sure that they add up, and when you add both of these numbers up, you should get 35,131.01, and then you should get 35,131.01 over here, and they do equal one another. So that means that you've proved it. You've proved that the debits equal the credits, and you're good to go.